Hey, today what we're going to be covering is the fundamentals of how to do a proper in-home presentation, as well as how to do a door knock. Hi, my name is Joe Johnson. I'm the President and CEO of Senior Solutions. I want to personally thank you for watching this training video. All right, everybody, great. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to be filming the in-home presentation. I'm Joe Johnson. This is Orette. He's going to be my guinea pig here, so appreciate you doing that. So we're going to do the in-home presentation actually in two parts. We're going to do a part one, part two. First part, what I'm going to do is basically like the intro. When you come in, you do the bond and rapport, and you make nice, and you kind of get to know your client a little bit. Then I'm going to get into why you sent the card in. Then I'm going to do something what we call the Upfront Contract. And then I'm going to go into the pre-sale folder here. And then we're going to break. That'll be part one. And then we'll do a part two, which we're going to do the flip chart presentation, and then I'm going to do the 3-option worksheet, and then hopefully I'll close the deal and you'll become a client. Okay. Before we get into it, just a couple of things I want to show is what I take into the house. The only thing I don't have is a laptop or tablet. But typically what I'll bring in is like a portfolio like this. This is kind of a leather one here. And maybe if we could get a shot of this, what it looks like. I have a picture of my family in here, my licenses in here, and I have some paper applications. The paper applications, you want to kind of go with whatever company you're going to be writing. For me, I have a CVS application in here. I do a lot of business with Mutual of Omaha, so I have that in there. If I have to go guaranteed issue, Gerber is really my go-to company. Then I also have the Children's Whole Life from Mutual of Omaha. I love that policy. And then I also have, sometimes I will run into clients that are a little bit younger, maybe in their 50s, early 60s. And then I also have, maybe I'll do a IUL Express or a Term Life Express. So I have the Mutual of Omaha term product in there as well. And then I think I just have some random apps. I have a Transamerica app and maybe a few more in there. So you want to kind of, when you go into the house, you want to kind of pack a little bit light. You don't want to take everything. And I know nowadays a lot of agents are doing e-applications. So, but what I would recommend, even if you're doing e-applications, make sure you take a paper backup application, because what happens if you're in the middle of a presentation and you get a glitch, you can't connect, the Wi-Fi is not working, have that paper application as a backup, because you never want to have to go back, because you could potentially, they could get buyer's remorse, you could potentially lose a sale. So the portfolio is one of the things that I take. And then we put together what we call the pre-sale folder, which I will go through when I do the presentation, I'll go through. But this is really important. These you can order directly from my office. And I'm going to go in and just kind of go through and work with my client and find out if they've done any pre-planning, and maybe find out if they have any policies. I'll go through this pretty thoroughly. And then the other thing that you want to bring in is make sure you have your flip chart presentation, which we'll do, but that's going to be in part two of the in-home presentation. So I'll cover that. And the other thing I always bring is a handy-dandy clipboard with the lead attached. This happens to be a digital lead. There's also, direct mail leads. This has a bunch of writing on here. And the reason why a clipboard is always good is because you never know the situation you're going to be in. A lot of times when you're in and you're writing with a client, the situation isn't perfect. You can't always get to a kitchen table. There's been times where their kitchen table was just, first of all, I probably wouldn't want to sit at it because it was full of, old food or whatever. And a lot of times the clients are more comfortable just sitting like in the living room, or so I've even written plenty of policies out on the front porch. So having a clipboard, which is great because this can kind of serve as your table, as you can take notes, and you can do your 3-option close. If you're going to write a paper app, you can use this to write your paper app, and it's very easy for me to just hand this to you. Go ahead and take it and go ahead and look at it, or sign the application. Okay?
Okay.
So with that, let's go ahead and get into the presentation. The first part, after because we're assuming, I either door knocked you or this was a preset appointment. We're sitting down. This is your kitchen table or this is your living room. This is where you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to sit where you're comfortable. And ideally what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to position myself so I can sit next to you. Okay? Across is okay. I prefer sitting next to my client because I like to sometimes, touch them,
Okay.
and make them feel warm and, give them some warm and fuzzies. And if I'm sitting across the table 3 feet away, it's kind of hard to do that. I can make good eye contact, but I like being right next to you. Okay? So in-home presentation, first thing we want to do is what we call the bond and rapport. And that's where we're going to meet and greet and kind of talk to our client a little bit and find out a little bit more about them. Some people are just naturally gifted at this and they can do it very easily. I never was. I don't have that, what they call the gift of gab, where I can just meet somebody and talk to them and strike up a conversation. What I am good at and what I learned to do is if you want somebody to like you, is that you ask them a lot of questions. So what I have found, it's better to be interesting or interested versus interesting. So I can ask you a lot of questions. And one of the things I learned, one of the acronyms that you can use to help with the bond and rapport is the acronym CORE, C-O-R-E. Stands for Children, Occupation, Recreation, and Emotion. So CORE, I could start out, hey, or out of curiosity, and I may ask, are you originally from this area? Did you grow up in the area?
No, I grew up in Jamaica.
Oh, in Jamaica. Wow. Okay. Did you raise your kids there? Do you have children?
I have a daughter. She was born in New York, so she.
Oh, okay.
And grew up here in Florida.
So that's some I'm making nice, and I mean, well, what kind of work did you used to do? I'm assuming you're retired now.
I was a school teacher.
You're a school teacher. Oh, okay. And I may notice some knickknacks on the wall. Hey, I see you're into, collecting figurines. Were those? Did you collect those, or was that your wife that had collected those?
My wife's.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of hobbies are you into? What do you like to do?
I like to fish.
Really?
Yes.
Seriously, or you just
Seriously.
or you just say that because you know I like to fish?
Seriously.
Okay. Yeah, because I love to fish.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be fishing today if I wasn't doing this. But so we made a connection. I didn't know you would like to fish. So I would talk to this guy for like an hour just about fishing, and then say, "Oh my God." Then I would do the transition. Here's the transition. We're having a good time. We're laughing because we both like to fish. Hey, Orette, listen, I respect your time. I don't want to be here all day. Let's talk about the reason why I'm here. And the reason why I'm here is because you had filled out this form requesting some information. So I'm assuming that when you had taken the time to fill this out, I'm assuming that your main concern was that you just want to make sure that when you do pass away, that you're not leaving your family with a financial burden. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to make sure that we can get that taken care of for you. But listen, before I go into all the details, I did put this folder together for you. So I'm going to go over that before I go into all the state-regulated guarantees. But I do have a quick question for you, and that is, out of curiosity, do you know how these state-regulated plans work?
No, not really.
Okay, all right. Well, first thing I want to tell you, and I think this is really important, is that I don't work for an insurance company. Okay, our agency is Senior Solutions, and we're a state licensed brokerage. Okay, so my job as a state licensed field underwriter is to really just to assist you by asking you some health questions. That will help me identify which of these companies is going to be the best fit based on your situation. And the thing that you can feel good about is that it doesn't matter which company we go with, all the companies we work with are top rated companies, okay? And hopefully, at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to find a program that fits your needs, but more importantly, I know it's got to fit your budget. So if we can accomplish those two things, basically what I'll do is I'll just do a little bit of paperwork and I'll send that into the insurance company. And within 3 to 5 business days, I'll get an answer back whether or not you would be approved or not. Does that sound fair enough to you?
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we call the upfront contract. And how I just did it is how you should do it, you should do it, Jim, how you should do it, okay? Because the reason why we do the upfront contract is because what am I doing? Is I'm looking for objections up front. I want my client to tell me, oh, I can't do anything today because my daughter has to be here, or I'm not making any decisions today. Just real quick, we'll just throw it in. Just say, hey, well, that sounds good, Joe, but I'm not doing anything today. Give me that objection.
Yeah, Joe, really what you just pointed out sounds good, but I wasn't prepared to sign anything today.
I totally understand. I apologize. First of all, we can't get the cart before the horse. I don't think I explained this properly. You couldn't purchase this today even if you wanted to, okay? This is just the application process. All I'm here today is just to assist you to find out what you could qualify for. And then if you can qualify, is simply just assist in the application process. And then once we get you approved, only then do you make the decision whether you want the coverage. Okay, so you can't actually buy it today anyway. All I'm going to do today is just try to help you and find you the best plan that you would qualify for. Fair enough?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, before I get into all that, I put together this special folder for you. And guys, this is what we call the pre-sale folder. And if you're not, I'm telling you, I put all these steps. The Senior Solution Sales System is a proven system, and it works best when you do put everything together. Okay? So this is what we call the pre-sale folder. And Orette and I put this folder together for you. And like I mentioned, I don't work for an insurance company. Senior Solutions is a state licensed brokerage. These are just some of the companies. We don't have all the companies listed, but these are just some of the companies that we do work with. And like I said before, they're all top-rated companies. So regardless of what company we go with, it's going to be a top-rated company. Out of curiosity, have you done any pre-planning?
No, I get this stuff in the mail all the time, but I just get procrastinating.
Okay, so you've never actually gone to like a funeral home or written anything down with your family as far as what it is what your wishes would be when you do pass away?
Nothing like that.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't work for a funeral home, and we don't do pre-planning, but the information I have in here is going to be very, very critical for you to get a start with doing a little bit of pre-planning. Out of curiosity, have you thought about it, or are you leaning more towards, let's say, like a traditional funeral with a service and a burial, or something maybe more economical, like like a cremation?
You know, I'm thinking more so traditional.
Okay.
But recently, one of my friends lost his father, and they went cremation. So I haven't really decided yet.
Okay. All right. The important thing is that you have the funds available to pay for whatever it is that you do want to have taken care of. Obviously, you don't want your family to have to suffer that burden. This information I'm providing is going to help you when you do decide that you can write everything down. The first thing that we want to cover is we want to use what we call a pre-arrangement guide. And you can get these either from Mutual of Omaha. This one happens to be from CVS. It's kind of a pre-planning guide. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm just going to kind of briefly go through this with my client and talk about, this is where you can let your family know exactly what you want to have happen when you do pass away. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you pass away and then your children don't know what it is you want to have happen. They're already dealing with the emotional burden of you passing away, right? You don't want to add to that burden of them having to make decisions, because maybe what happens if one kid says, no, Dad would have wanted a burial. No, we can't afford a burial. We need to do a cremation. It can cause a lot of headaches within your family if you don't do any pre-planning. And this is simply just to help you do a little bit of pre-planning so you can let your family know exactly what you want to have happen, what type of service that you want. If you had picked out a certain a funeral home that you want to work with. This is also where you can list out if you do currently have any life insurance policies. Okay, you can list those here. You can list your attorney, your doctors, all the important people that are going to be notified. Maybe there's a close relative. Maybe there's a cousin that you were really good, you guys were really tight when you were younger, but maybe you lost touch. Those are important things that you list. Maybe talk about growing up. Where'd you go to school? What were your favorite hobbies? What were your dreams, hopes and dreams? What was your greatest accomplishment? These are all the things that you can put down in this final arrangements pre-planning guide. Because have you ever had to bury somebody or do a funeral?
Yes, I did.
I did too. First time I ever did that was with my father. And when we met with the funeral director, these are all, everything that the funeral director asks is all in here. Okay? So it's great to have that. So make sure that you take the time to fill that out. The other thing that we put together for you is called this Peace of Mind Kit. This is the 10 facts that funeral directors do not want you to know. Unfortunately, what happens is that when people don't do a lot of pre-planning, the first time they ever talk to a funeral director is after a loved one has already passed away. Okay?
And the pressure then.
There's a lot of pressure in sometimes, people can be forced into making bad decisions that they wouldn't have made had they had an opportunity to do a little pre-planning, or if someone would have just taken the time to write some things down. Okay? But what this does, this will help save your family thousands of dollars, because this talks about getting the best deal on a casket, talks about whether or not embalming is necessary, talks about shopping around different funeral homes. Okay, so this has 10 facts that can literally save your family thousands of dollars. Also on the back, there's this really great website it's free funeral planning, and it's www.parting.com. And you can go to that website, you can put in we could do it right now, put in your zip code, it'll pull up all the funeral homes and list all the best pricing. Okay, and you can plug in whether or not you want cremation, burial, do you want cremation without any type of service? Do you know, I already looked it up, do you know in this area, average cremation without a service is only about $1,500. So you don't have to spend a fortune. Because our goal is to have the most amount of money go to your family, not the funeral home. Okay, so we want to save you as much money as possible. The other thing that we're going to do, which is really, really important, part of my job as the state licensed agent is to do a free policy review. So what we'll do, we're going to go over these things. We're going to find out what type of policy that you have. Whether or not you have a term policy, a whole life policy. Is it universal? Sometimes maybe it's an accident only. Was it level or graded? And what should you know about your policy? There's basically 6 things that are important for you to know about any life insurance you have, and this is what I'm going to help you with. We're going to find out is when will your policy expire? Are the premiums scheduled to go up? Do you have any cash value? Will your policy ever lapse? What is my benefit amount? And then do I have any living benefits? Some policies have living benefits, some don't. The other thing we're going to take a look at is to make sure that any existing policies you do have, we're going to make sure that they have the 5 guarantees that our policies have, the 5 state regulated guarantees. 1, we're going to make sure that the premiums never increase. The death benefit is guaranteed never to decrease. The benefits are paid tax-free. It's guaranteed never to be canceled due to your age. You wouldn't want a policy. How old are you now, out of curiosity?
I'm 62.
62. How would you feel that if you had a policy and you've had it for 5 years, and then you find out when you're 78 that your policy expires when you're 80?
I would be disappointed really badly.
Yeah, but do you know, like the policies from AARP, that's when they expire at age 80? And a lot of people don't know that, so we need to check this stuff out. And then the other thing we're going to view is that we're going to make sure whether or not your policy has guaranteed cash value that accumulates over time that you can borrow from. Okay, so do me a favor, just go ahead and grab your policies, and we'll go ahead and review them.
I don't know to find it right now.
Okay. Normally, and here's the point I want to make before we go on. A lot of agents will make the mistake of asking their clients, do you have any, let me do a free policy review. do you have any life insurance policies? And then what do you get? Well, I don't know where my policy is. It's in the safety deposit box. My kids have it. You get every excuse in the world. If you do it the way I do it, and you just assume, I didn't ask you if you had life insurance.
No.
I assumed you had life insurance. And I told you I was going to do a policy review, right?
Right.
So my point is, you go over all this stuff, and what's your client thinking? In the back of their mind, they're thinking, man, what kind of policy do I have? When is my policy going to lapse? Do I have cash value? So when I go through this and I say, do me a favor, go grab your policy and we'll look at it.
You're more inclined to
They're
do that.
hopping up and they're going
Yeah.
to go get it, or they're simply saying, "Oh, Joe, I don't have any coverage." Okay, so I just found out whether or not my client does have coverage. If they do have coverage, I'm able to take a look at it and find out if they have good coverage. You got a Superman policy with no weaknesses, or do you have a policy with kryptonite that has weaknesses in it that is going to lapse, or maybe it wasn't? Maybe you have an old IUL that's running out of money, or maybe it's a AARP policy that's going to expire at age 80. You need to know that stuff, and I want to educate you. So I'm going to go through that. The next sheet that's in my pre-planning kit is average funeral cost. So typically I go over average funeral cost, and I don't go over every line. Orette, you probably already know the cost of funerals are increasing. According to the National Funeral Directors Association, when you add everything up between the limos and the services and the cosmetic and just everything that goes into it, average cost is roughly almost $10,000. And of course that doesn't include the plot either. Now I know you can get it done cheaper. I've seen cheap funerals as little as $5,000 to $7,000, but again that still doesn't include a plot. Minimum, I think you're realistically looking at least $7,500 to about $12,000 for a traditional burial. Cremation, on the other hand, is a lot cheaper. Now this is not the cheapest cremation. This would be the most expensive cremation. So this has the price sheet that if you wanted to get a cremation, but you wanted everything done, you wanted the service and the flowers and the viewing, the obituary, everything that goes with it, it's about $6,000 for a cremation. Now, if you wanted to go super economy, and what a lot of people are doing, they're just doing a simple cremation, which is anywhere, I've seen it as cheap as $800 to as much as about $2,500. And then they're just doing like a end of life celebration. They're not doing anything at the funeral home. They're getting together maybe at a VFW or maybe somebody's house and just doing a nice in-home memorial service, like an end of life celebration. So at the end of the day, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you don't have to spend, your family doesn't have to spend a fortune to take care of final expenses. The important thing is we just have coverage in place. Okay? And then the other thing I just wanted to show you real quick is, according to the Social Security Administration, this just shows an estimate of what funerals could be when you're expected to pass away. And you said you are how old?
62.
62. So what I'm going to do is take a look at this sheet here, and I'm going to find Orette is 62. So based on, if you could see this, based on your age, point to 62 for me. It's right there, right?
Right here.
But yeah, that's male. Okay, so based on 62, you should live another almost 19 years to age a little bit, almost age 81, and funeral costs could be as much as $23,000. Okay,
So
20
projected.
projected cost in 20 years from now. Whether there'll be that much, I have no idea. That's just what Social Security says. And then, are you familiar with the what Social Security pays towards?
Yeah,
funerals?
because at 62, start to think about Social Security.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so you're aware that Social Security, that your family may be eligible for a one-time payment of $255?
what?
$255 for
That little?
yes, and it's only a one-time payment. So if you've ever used it, like if you're married, and let's say your spouse predeceased and you collected it, it's a one-time gift.
Oh, Joe, that can't do
Unfortunately.
anything.
No, I mean it could cover. I mean at least they do something. The thing that really sucks is that it's been $255 for I don't know how long, like 20 years or something. So they haven't. Unfortunately, they haven't raised it. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to cover with you on that. The next thing I want to go over with you. Oh, I do have a question real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pass this out. Have you put together? Do you have a medical power of attorney that if you were to get sick and be hospitalized, to tell your family whether or not you want to be? Let's say you were, you had a serious disease or you were in a car accident and you're basically, you're on life support, brain dead, and the doctors are saying, listen, we can keep him alive for as long as you want, but there's no chance of recovery. Would you want the plug pulled, or would you want them just to keep you on life support indefinitely?
Is that like a living will?
It's a we just refer to it as a medical power of attorney, but
Okay.
yeah, a living will.
Yeah.
Do you already have one?
No, I don't.
Okay, I can help if you like. I can help. I can put this together for you and sign it so you can have it for your family. And the other thing I forgot to mention, I apologize, is that besides offering coverages to adults, we also have fantastic programs for children and grandchildren. And I don't think I forgot to ask, but did you mention, do you have any grandchildren?
Yes, I have 2 grandkids.
What are their ages?
They're 6 and 9.
6 and 9. Okay. Just as an example, and there's no, these are gender neutral, so it's not boy or girl, it's just based on age. So you said 6 and 9?
Mm-hmm.
So they would both fall into this category in between age 5 and 6. We have programs where your grandchildren could get as little as $10,000 for only $5 a month, and that's locked in for the rest of their life. And there's an opportunity for them to increase it up to 5 times the face amount, or as much as $50,000, which would only be $23
They
per
say for the rest
per
of their
child.
life, don't they fall off at age 18? Or
No, this
anything?
is whole life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is not a rider onto a policy. This is an actual policy for the children, and these are all the times they can increase it. When they turn 25, when they turn 30, 35, 40, or life events, for example, if they get married, have children, or adopt, or purchase a home. Those are all the times they can
Very
increase it,
interesting.
but up to 5 times the face amount. So I just wanted to let you know that we offer that if you want to get some coverage for your grandchildren. Okay? So I'm going to put this aside. This folder, this is for you. Okay? The next thing I want to cover with you is I just want to go over all the guarantees of these state-regulated plans that we offer. Okay? And like I mentioned before, I don't work for an insurance company. We're a state licensed brokerage. But this first slide really just talks about what are expected benefits, which we've kind of already talked about. I think you already realize is that when we do pass away, unfortunately, the first thing we do is what? You have the emotional burden that you just passed away, your family's upset, but then they're left with a financial burden. They got to figure out what to do. And whether it's something small like a basic cremation or a full service funeral, there's cost involved. Like we already mentioned, average funeral costs are well over $10,000. And I've been doing this for a long time. And what I can tell you is that typically there's 3 reasons why most people filled out that form and mailed it back in. And I just want you to tell me which one of these best applies to you. And first one is that they don't have any coverage in place at all. And they just want to make sure is that when they do pass away, they're not leaving their family with a financial burden. The second reason is that maybe they have some coverage in place, maybe a small policy, a couple $1,000s that they bought a few years ago, but they just feel like they could use a little bit more coverage for their family. And the third reason, sometimes I meet people or rent that have plenty of coverage. Okay? They're fully insured. They already have their funeral already planned, but they still want a little bit more coverage because they want to leave a special benefit to their child, maybe a grandchild, could be even their favorite charity. Maybe you want to leave money to your church, a way of giving after you're gone. Next thing I just want to cover with you real quickly is when we do pass away, or when we do take out a plan, I should say, I want to talk to you and expand a little bit about the 5 guarantees that the policies have that we offer with our companies.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that's really important is that we're going to make sure is that we provide you affordable premiums, and you can see it's guaranteed never to increase. So what that means is that whatever we get you locked in at, that those premiums will never, you don't have to worry about it going up. Because you don't want to be 85 years old and then get hit with a bill for $200 a month.
No.
The second thing is that we're going to make sure that the death benefit is guaranteed never to decrease. Unfortunately, there's bad policies out there where people don't realize it, and even though their premiums are staying the same, the face amount, they started with $10,000, but by the time they die, there's only $2,000 left. It's called a decreasing. You don't want that. And third is that we're going to make sure that the death benefit is paid guaranteed income tax free. So you're talking about leaving, and how many grandchildren do you have?
2.
Okay. Are you expecting any more?
No, but you never know.
You never know. We can always add more grandchildren.
Right.
So when you do pass and I deliver that check to your grandchildren, your family doesn't have to worry about paying taxes on it. Okay, it's tax free. And also, fourth, it's guaranteed never to be canceled due to age or health, unlike other plans. This policy is, once you have it, you don't have to worry about it. So even if you live to be 100, it's still going to be there for you, okay? And lastly is the guaranteed cash value. So it's important for you to know that this policy is going to build cash value over the life. And that cash value, you can borrow from that. If you ever have financial emergencies, you can borrow from the money, or from the cash value, I mean. The thing that's important for you to know, though, is that if you do borrow the money, you're not required to pay it back. But if you don't pay it back, they're going to subtract it from the death benefit.
Oh.
So let's say you have a $10,000 policy, you borrow $3,000. When you pass, they're going to pay out $7,000. And then also there could, if there's any interest that accumulates. So at the end of the day, what I tell my clients, I said, if all possible, don't ever borrow from your policy unless you absolutely have to. Okay? Because that's really not the intention. The intention is to be able to leave that death benefit to cover the final expenses and for your grandchildren,
Okay.
like we said. And then the last thing I just want to cover with you is before I get into asking you the health questions and everything. And this just talks about exploring your options for final expenses. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to 3 things, or 3 ways for us to cover our final expenses. First one, option 1, it says do nothing, which is not really a plan. That's kind of a crappy thing to do. But unfortunately, it's what a lot of people do, is because it's in our human nature to procrastinate. And we put it off and we put it off. And then sometimes people put it off until it's so late, they're either so old or they're so sick that they can't even get it. Because it's not what helps you qualify, it's your age and your health that helps get you qualified. Option 2 is that you can acquire a prepaid funeral plan. So you could go to any funeral home across the country. You could walk in, talk to a funeral director, and you could do a prepaid funeral.
Yeah, I've been getting flyers in the mail on that.
Yes. It's normally very expensive. Okay. Usually anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000. And if you don't have the money in the bank, if you can't write a check for the whole thing, they put you on a payment plan, usually over 5 to 7 years. So plus interest. So now you're paying $200 or $300 for a prepaid funeral. And unfortunately, if you do pass away while you're making premium payments, your family's still responsible for the balance. So you know what the funeral home will do? On top of selling you the prepaid funeral, they'll try selling you a life insurance policy to cover you, so if you do die prematurely, that it's covered.
And who's the beneficiary then?
They always name yes, that's a good point. You don't name your family as the beneficiary.
Oh.
So whatever. So the negative thing about a prepaid funeral is that there's never any money left over for the family. With a final expense plan, and that's the third option, is acquiring a final expense plan. This is where you make affordable monthly premiums into a portable whole life policy. Portable meaning it can be used anywhere, any funeral home at your family's discretion. And whatever money is left over, first of all, the money goes directly to your family. Then they pay the funeral home.
Okay.
But whatever's left over, your family gets to keep. So they have the, they have the option of being able to use that wherever they want to. It gives them the freedom of choice. Is what is really what I'm trying to say. But you tell me, between do nothing, prepaid funeral, and final expense plan, which of these do you think makes the most amount of sense to you?
But obviously the option 3, final expense.
Right. I'm glad you said that because I can't help you with the other ones.
Oh.
Like we don't do prepaid funerals. We only do the whole life policies.
Do nothing.
Right. Yeah. Well, to do nothing. I can help you do that. So from here, or really the next step is I'm just going to ask you a few health questions to determine which plan is going to be the best fit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, right now this is where we're going to take a break. So this is part 1 of the in-home presentation.